Hello. All right, we're going to jump right into this. We're going to paint a comic style version of Groot from Marvel Unlimited here. So I'm mixing a little bit of dark ivory with this light umber that I got from Pro-Acryl. It's a brand of paints that I like. Of course, you can use anything. Just kind of remember what you're using, because I have this dark ivory and light umber. I'm going to stay in the umbers and ivory when it comes to highlighting and shadowing this. So we're just going to go all over Groot himself. That part of the model will, the ground will be a separate type thing, but we're going to go all over. You may have to go a couple of coats, but that's what we're going to have. And then this is why I said, use that same ivory. These highlights are a big part, so we kind of want to stay in the same family of color. So I'm using this dark ivory, and it looks, on camera, it really looks light. I think we have some highlights with regular ivory, or if not, it's even lighter than this. So these highlights, we're covering a lot of Groot himself, and this is a great model to try out this style for the first time, because the sculpt, the model itself lends itself to showing you almost outlining where to put the highlights. As you can see, right here on the elbow, on the arm, I'm just going with these high areas, and they are the boundaries are these deep cuts, and we're gonna, you may expect we're gonna hit that with a darker color for our shadows. Just showing, just even those lightest things. Again, this is it's just a great model. Shows where to go. So as you can see, on the chest here, shoulder, I'm using more of the brush, these larger areas, and then just smaller areas. Same brush. If you're just going with a smaller area, use just the end or the tip of the brush. And for these wider areas like that there, I'm using more of what's called the belly of the brush. So just the tip right there, and then right here, a wider part. Now with comic style or Borderlands style, usually you want a lot of rounded edges for these highlights, and then your black lining or your shadows are going to be real sharp. I did want to add a little bit of texture, because this is it's organic, it's wood, it's Groot. And so I didn't hold myself to that hard and fast rule of rounded highlights. We do want a bold highlight, and that's what really sets comic style painting to your traditional layering up or glazing up and having that nice transition or that smooth blend. That's what we usually look for. Here, we're going to have three main colors on Groot himself. The undercoat, which was that mix of light umber and dark ivory. Then going over it with that same, one of those same colors, the dark ivory, for these large highlights. Anytime you're highlighting a face, eyebrows, nose, cheek, chin. I've heard it called, I guess women in the makeup, it's the T-zone, which is just the T that goes from, down your nose, eyebrows, stuff like that. So I'm going to let that set in before we go with the shadows. And I try to do this with all the Marvel Unlimited models, because I paint through. I have some commission customers, and so all the dirt where it's the ground is disrupted, I go with mahogany, and it's just a orange brown, as you can tell. And then there's a lot of broken up cement pavement on these models, so I have I don't know, a formula system of what I use, and I've actually marked my bottles. So this is the dark neutral gray. This is my like darkest color besides the black that we'll use for the deepest shadows and recesses. So I have a progression of 3 different colors. So I'm just going over the whole thing in the dark neutral gray here. Whatever you're going to use, just write it down, know what your formula is. I'm letting that dry because I just like really soaked it in. Wasn't worried about being too careful. So I'm going to hit the bold highlight here. I'm using burnt orange. I believe it goes better with the mahogany than say just a regular orange. This is like deep enough to go well with the mahogany, but it's bright enough to bring out a little bit of pop in there. So now I'm going to go back to the cement or the rocks here, and I've just stepped down in lightness to neutral gray. And it looks, with my lighting, and I'm still working on my lighting issues, it looks pretty bright. Especially grays, I've learned are kind of, there's a little bit of a learning curve to them. And on my next video, which is Rocket the Raccoon, don't tell him he's a raccoon, but Rocket, with the metallics that we use on that, it's really hard. You put it on and it, you're not sure, and it just dries, and then you kind of get more of that color. And you can see on this, on that top part of the rock that's already drying, the brightness, the intensity has lessened. So what I'm doing in this step with the neutral gray is just going over more of the, not just the high points like we do in traditional painting from being the top down, but some of the sides of like that rock there on the right side from this view, showing the dimension of it. I like this highlight here, just it's on a flat area, but I don't want to highlight the whole thing, but it's just to give it that two-dimensional look on this 3D sculpt. Once I started painting these Marvel Unlimited models in this comic style, I really like it. It's fun. To me, you just kind of look at it, you determine what you're trying to do, and you go for it. And if you make a mistake, since you're not blending, it's really easy to correct mistakes because you can just go over it with the previous color. So yeah, look at this color here. This is bright neutral gray. Again, Pro Acryl color, staying in that family of neutral grays versus warm grays, blue grays, stuff like that. And just lessening the amount of highlights just to, the smallest areas or smaller areas, a lot of the edges, and just a little bit of the, I don't know what we'll call it, the overhang of like the rocks or on the side, like right here, just, showing, this highlight, this brighter color is going to definitely give us the impression. I had a big old chunk of paint on my brush there. Giving us that impression of a sharper edge, a high point in the rocks. But again, once this is on the table and you're kind of looking at it, that two-dimensional effect is really brought out. If you're not sure, if you're, I'm not sure, just hesitant to try this on your model, just get a regular base for a tabletop model, a wooden block, prime it black, and get you 3 colors and try it out. You can just do it. You don't have to have like raised rocks. Just try to, paint that, 3 colors layering up, and give it a shot. All right, so there we go. We have the base. So now I really enjoy this part if my hands aren't shaking. So you got to kind of time this with your caffeine intake. I just use, for black lining, I don't use ink or Indian ink or anything else. This is the black that I like to use, Vallejo Model Color Black. It's smooth. It's like right out of the bottle, I do use a wet palette, but right out of the bottle on the palette, I like the consistency of the paint. I add little to no water to thin these Pro Acrylic paints. That's why I love them so much. I've switched from, you know, some of the other brands, but I like this paint. It's less expensive. I like the bottles it comes in, stuff like that. But enough about the paint that I like. Again, Groot is a great model, a great sculpt to do this because it has a lot of these edges, little creases, and it's hard to tell. I'm actually a little out of focus here. My apologies. But like that area right there, it's not a recess like in the sculpt, but just the way I painted that, it's a flat surface and just left that little V cut there on the back of his head. Put one little shadow and it just, you know, it creates that illusion. I apologize, I'm horribly out of focus here. Just painting around the bottoms of their feet like this, it just gives that, I don't know, that fake out impression of, you know, depth and shadow there. I'm also going along, you see, just hitting the lowest points in the in-between areas of these rocks on the base. I'll probably hit this area right in front. So you're going to be painting mostly on top of that dark neutral gray. Okay, I'm going in between just a few of these areas because some of the rocks are so small, but the larger ones that would, you know, create shadow, I do a little black lining or filling a shadow. Again, on my next video of Rocket, it has a lot more smaller rocks, so I do a slightly different technique or procedure in it just to simplify this area. So right there you see just a few areas, put some dark lining in. Best part, most fun part of painting a model is painting the rim, which is usually the end of the model. What I started doing at the request of one of my customers is I paint all the good guys. Their rim is one color. So we picked blue, and again, my lighting is showing this as, excuse me, a little lighter blue, but it's just straight blue from Pro Acrylic. And then all the villains in the game we paint with a red base, and that way on the board it's a lot nicer. Here we go. Here's my little finished product, and you know, you can see how this was an easy technique again with Groot. So a great beginner's type model. You see the base there with the dimensions. So hey, I'm getting close to 500 subscribers. I'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. I think I'm like 30 subscribers away from 500, and I don't know, that would just be kind of cool. Check out my other videos, and my upcoming video will be Rocket the Raccoon, again doing the comic style paint scheme.